Good afternoon, pilot. How are you doing? Welcome to your A320 type rating. For today, we have to take an MT A319 from Constanța to Bucharest for servicing. It has an inoperable reverser. Let's do the walk around. Be careful, the aircraft is powered. The nose wheel looks fine. The red light shows that nose wheel steering is engaged. Ground crew is not allowed to tow the aircraft or move the nose wheel direction, as that will damage the hydraulics. The upper lights are the taxi and takeoff nose wheel lights, while the lower skewed lights are the runway turn lights. The lower beacon light looks fine. These are the RAM air ports for the AC mixing units. The flap moves with regards to phase of flight and AC demand. If the pilot presses the ditch button, these close fully to keep water out. Coming around the right engine, this is the IAE V2500 engine. It is a high bypass mixing turbofan. Up to 4.8 parts go around the car, while one part goes inside to sustain the fan turning, the accessory gearbox going, plus bleed air for AC and anti-ice. The two-spool engine can turn the fan at a max of 5,650 while N2 reaches almost 15,000 RPM. Moving to the right main landing gear, we check the brake wear pins and the tires. This aircraft is fitted with brake fans to cool the brakes and decrease turnaround times. The fuel drain and vent mast should be clear of obstructions. This is the outflow valve, part of the pressurization system. This is the APU intake port. And here we have the APU exhaust. As you'll see, we fly the V2500 using a new parameter called engine pressure ratio. For the V2500, the pressure ratio is measured between the air in front of the fan and the air exiting the low-pressure turbine, before mixing with bypass air. It's a more consistent measure of the total thrust provided. This is the avionics cooling intake port. Let's get back inside and take this into the air. Here we are flying nicely at flight level 160 over Romania. I'll put in a direct to autos. And I'll set up a hold at Arges too. I'll use the track 2 as the inbound course. And I want a left hand. As I said, we're using EPR as the engine thrust monitor parameter. As we're light today, we don't need that much power to maintain speed and altitude. A 5% increase from fan to exhaust is enough. Don't confuse this with what's happening in the car. The V2500 has an overall pressure ratio of over 33:1, which means that the compressor increases pressure 33 times before the combustor. EPR is just the pressure ratio before and after the core, but it's a more realistic value of the thrust provided than N1 percentage. As I already said, the right engine reverser is inoperative. Autopilot off. The fly-by-wire system on the A320 class has several laws or modes of operation. The highest mode is called normal law. In normal law, pitch inputs demand load factor while roll inputs demand roll rate. In neutral pitch stick, the system provides 1 G load for all attitudes. This means that unless at 0 pitch and roll, the aircraft will slightly pull the nose upwards to attain 1 G. This means that at 300 knots TAS and 20 degrees pitch up with a neutral stick, the system will automatically pull up 1 degree in 4.5 seconds. If speed decreases, because of the centrifugal force dependency with speed, the plane will pull 1 degree in 3 seconds. Do not confuse this with what the autopilot is doing. Autopilot keeps what's on the FCU. The 1 G pull-up is something the system is doing when manually flying with a neutral stick. The normal law also provides automatic tone coordination and automatic pitch trim. But the stellar features of the normal law are the flight envelope protections. We're going to activate one now. before the protection activates. Look at how the pitch-up rate increases as speed decreases. Stick is neutral. Back to our protection. What I've done was to put the plane in a pitch-up attitude and took off power. The plane will lose speed fast and increase angle of attack. At some point AOA will grow close to critical, which will make the system enter the alpha floor protection. As the warning band was hit, the stick has transitioned to AOA demand, and at full deflection it provides max AOA only. And there we go. The system is now in alpha protection. The engines are automatically spooling up to max thrust, alpha floor, but there is no nose push. The stick, however, stays in AOA demand mode to not let the pilot increase angle even further. Nose is pulling up because the stick has transitioned back to load demand as we've visibly moved into the safe region. When out of the danger, the autopilot can be engaged, but going back into the unsafe region will disconnect it. To disconnect alpha floor, you need to recycle the auto thrust. I'll put the plane in a heading for Otapini and move to the next law in the hierarchy. The next law in the hierarchy is the alternate law. We can engage the alternate law by taking out the two elevator aileron computers, ELAC. When dropping to the alternate, the autopilot disconnects, protections out the window, so fly it on your own bid. Max IAS is 320. On the lower display you will see ECAM messages. Of interest are max speed 320, fuel flow is increased, land in flaps 3 config, approach speed is VREF plus 10, protections lost. When landing gear is down, the plane will switch to the next hierarchical law, the direct law. The good thing is that even in alternate law, the auto trim still works. We will land in direct law to experience it, but before that, I want to make you aware of yet another, even lower tier law of the Airbus flight control. Mechanical backup is the last level of redundancy of aircraft control. The trim wheel controls pitch, while rudder controls roll and yaw. As you can imagine, it is quite a limited mode of operation, but it's good to know it's there. Let's get on final approach and experience the direct law. Remember, we're still in alternate. We could go into direct law by also switching off the 3 spoiler elevator computers, but we'll come into it more naturally. The reason why gear down will switch alternate to direct is because without protections, it's dangerous to fly the aircraft so close to the ground using normal law. So the aircraft switches to a mode more familiar to every pilot. Coming up on final approach course, we can select the Land 3 mode for the ground proximity warning system as the ECAM required. Checking the approach to memorize it. Let's get back on directors. Slats out. ECAM for alternate law comes back up with a list of inoperable systems. Flight control protections, left and right ailerons, ELACs, autopilot, and Category 2 landings. The reason the ailerons are out is that ELACs are the only computers sending signals to the ailerons. So the ailerons have been out since we first went to the alternate law. We've been rolling on roll spoilers alone. Gears down and locked. We are now flying in direct law. Now the aircraft behaves like a classical aircraft. The main difference is that auto trim is out, so you need to trim yourself using the trim wheel, as there's no trim button on the stick.
$2,500.
The aircraft is nose down trimmed, or high speed trimmed. I will need to rotate the wheel to tame it.
$2,000.
Starting to trim as I'm pulling quite hard on the stick at these approach speeds.
1,000. Traffic. $500. $400. $100 above.
Still not perfectly trimmed.
Minimum. $100.
sync rate.
40, 30,
Pull up.
20, retard, retard, retard. 10, 5.
There we go. Hope you learned a bit about the flight control system of the Airbus. It resembles today's fighter jet control systems that keep the aircraft inside the flight envelope. Reactions to envelope upsets are called protections, and they are high AOA protection, high speed protection, pitch attitude protection, bank angle protection, and load factor protection. As you can imagine, some of the protections have to do more with comfort than immediate dangers.
Thank you all for watching.